I'm Chris Kochenour. I'm the transplant from Vermont. We spent 40 years in Vermont and all of our lives in New England. And this community, Loveland, was scientifically chosen as a retirement place. And it was chosen because it was the minimum number of miles we could drive from Vermont and get to the Rocky Mountains that are right there in the west. And so that's why we're here. There's some science behind that. I was the chief control operator of WØBHS, the Berthoud High School ham radio club for the School Club Roundup, which is a contest that comes around twice a year, February and October, and specifically it's for schools to compete against other schools. Bless you. The reason I was the guy at the controls is at the high school that I retired from in Vermont, I was the chief control operator and only control operator for their contest team that participated every February in the School Club Roundup. From 2012, 13, 14, and 15, my little 700 student school in the southwest corner of Vermont were the world champions in the high school division. And in 2014, we were the world champions, beat every college, beat every high school, every elementary school. We were at the top of the hill, which is not bad for a little tiny high school of 700 kids. So I retired in June of 2015. We moved a year and a half later here to Loveland, and my job was to bring that torch, the School Club Roundup ham radio contest torch, to somebody, anybody. Turns out it happened to be Berthoud High School. And this is a story of amazement, the power of ham radio, the magic of ham radio, kids, control operators, a week of our lives that was truly amazing. And it started out back in October with a random QSO. Just a random QSO turned into this amazing week-long project for 8 adults, the faculty at the high school, the kids, 77 students participated in this. One of my goals in Vermont was to always get 10% of the student population. I never did. 17 years, I never got 10%. This school, its first year, got 11% of the school population to participate in this. So here's how it started. Get into your time machine, crank it back to October, maybe November. I'm on 40 meters, CQ, WD1W standing by for any call from anywhere. WD1W, this is KD0PFY. Guy's name's Scott, okay? We passed the usual information. He teaches chemistry and physics at Berthoud High School. And he's kind of bemoaning the fact that, man, I got this ham radio club, but only 5 or 6 people show up. Do you have any ideas? I'd like to pick your brain. Boy, if that wasn't the question of the day. Do I have ideas? Have you ever heard about the School Club Roundup? He hadn't. So I gave him an outline of the School Club Roundup. Contest for schools, held February and October. It's amazing, you gotta do it. So we set up a meeting, we met at Dunkin' Donuts, and he showed up with 4 or 5 other people. I wasn't expecting that, but we had like an instant team of control operators. So we talked for about an hour. I laid out what this was like, how you do it. I said, you guys in? They said, yeah, we're in, this sounds like fun. And what I was asking of them is, as the adults, is just what we were asking of our students. Well, they're students, not my students. And that was, give us an hour of your time, try something different that's a little bit out of the box to see if it's fun enough that you might want to try this again. They said, yeah, we can do that. We can give you a morning or an afternoon as a control operator. See if it's fun enough that we want to do this again. So we had a meeting at Dunkin' Donuts the day before the contest starts. It's a week-long contest, starts on Monday, finishes on Friday. So we have this meeting at Dunkin' Donuts, and there's 8 of us, and you probably know all of them, except maybe me and maybe one other. Scott Kent, the teacher at Berthoud High School, KD0PFY. Dave, W0LEV, you mentioned him earlier. Ed was sitting here, KG6 UDT, Ed Schiller. Terry Bullitt, whose change is called the W0ASP. I knew him 3 weeks ago as KD0ZWU. That's not a mouthful. No wonder he changed his call. Jay Wilson, W0AIR. Phil Burke, K0PRB. And Luann Barnes, K0LAOMBWD1W. So we got the 8 of us. We're at the conference table in the conference room in Dunkin' Donuts, and the 7 of them pretty much in unison said, "You're in charge, you're at the controls because you're the only one who knows what they're doing." And they fully admitted, said, "None of us even know what we're doing." So my job was to teach them, those 7, how to do this. So if I got hit next week by a bus, they could do it without me. And that's bringing the torch from Vermont for the School Club Roundup and pass that torch on and keep it going. So they said, okay, I'm at the controls. What about the little things? Who's going to bring the fuses for the rig? Who's going to bring pens so we can write with? What are we going to write on? Because they didn't know any of this stuff. So it was a fun meeting. We met for about 3 hours. The next day, tomorrow, is the beginning of the contest. So you guys ready? Well, we don't know how to do this, but we're ready. We had a sign-up sheet. We had blocks. Monday morning, Monday afternoon, control operator. Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, control operator. Wednesday morning, and literally, like a group of children, they all said, "Well, you're not going to leave us. You're not just going to be there for an hour and go away and leave us on our own and just let us fumble through this." I said, "No, I'll be there for every minute of every hour of every day." And then go home and spend another 3 or 4 hours doing all the paperwork, logging in all the contacts, taking care of the countries and the states and all that stuff. So Monday morning comes. We're ready. We're fired up. It's 7:30 in the morning. Well, we had some time issues, and the time issues are the constraints within the contest. You can't operate for more than 6 hours in any one day. If you take a break, it has to be 10 minutes long, minimally, and you can't operate in more than 24 hours for the whole week. That was never an issue in Vermont. I taught all day till 2:30. We fired up the station at 3 o'clock. We went from 3 to 8 on Monday and Tuesday, there's 10 hours. 3 to 7 on Wednesday and Thursday, there's 18 hours. 1 to 7 on Friday, 24 hours, bam, we're done. Scott says, well, one, we're not going to do it after school. I thought that was a mistake, but I couldn't talk him out of it. 2, they have 9 class periods in the course of the day, 45-minute class periods. I said, my Lord, how are we going to do this? We can't just crank it up at 7:30 in the morning, go 6 hours, because then we've got 2 hours at the end of the day. Can't do anything. The class changes 5 minutes. What are we going to do with that 5 minutes? 9 of those, that's 45 minutes. Kids are changing class. We're not on the air. What are we going to do about the 10-minute break? If we don't take a 10-minute break, those 5 minutes the kids change counts as time on the air. Shortens our day by 45 minutes. So 24 hours is 1,440 minutes. Divide by 5, you get 288. Divide by 9, you get 32. That's it. 32 minutes a class for 45 periods, right? 9 on Monday, 9 on Tuesday. I had a sheet, we had a sheet on the wall. 32 minutes. We had an egg timer, 32 minutes. Counting down, when our 32 minutes up, we're done, shut her down. Because, right, you got to take that 10-minute break. 5 minutes at the end, 5 minutes passing time. So we're ready, 7:30 in the morning. It was just me, Jay Wilson. He, by the way, was our logbook teacher guy extraordinaire. It was amazing teaching these kids how to deal with the logbook. So at 7:30, hey, where are the kids? No kids. The way that Scott had them sign up, I wouldn't have done it this way, but the way he had them sign up was he created a computer program, and for a month, or it might have been 5 or 6 weeks before the contest, kids just signed up. Of course, half of them forgot they signed up because they signed up 6 weeks ago. So we had a lot of periods where kids didn't show up. Ed, chuck down to Scott's room, get us some kids. 3 bodies would show up. Scott was like the body snatcher. He'd grab kids out of the cafeteria. He'd grab kids out of the library. He'd grab kids out of the hallway. You guys, 3, go down there. just do it. So bodies would show up. Well, there goes like 15 minutes of our 32 minutes, right? Half of the time that's left, it takes a good 10 or 15 minutes to explain to the students, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is how we're doing it. We're trying to make as many contacts as we can in 1,440 minutes. Here's how you do it. You call CQ. This is what QTH means. This is what QRZ means. And the kids go, QRZED. No, it's QRZ. QRZED. No, it's QRZ. Right? So we got to teach them all that stuff. That takes like 15 minutes. Here we are in this little corner of the library. We're in a corner of the library, cordoned off by partitions, and you really couldn't see us in the library. You could see the partitions, you could hear us, but you couldn't see us. So you walk into the library, and the librarian's chair and office is over here, and you go past that into the corner, just like here. So we're partition and partition, and we're behind it. We were loud, but it was great because a lot of people could hear what we were doing, and as the week went on, people were coming around the corner and kind of looking in. What are they doing? This kind of sounds interesting. So we're there and we're ready, but nobody in the whole world knows that we're there. We're making these great plans. We're going to contact stations, we're going to get countries, we're going to get schools, and nobody knows we're here. So that's why you call CQ. You call CQ so that you're alerting the world. Here we are in Berthoud, come find us. And we as control operators had 4 goals. Our goals were, number 1, the most important, was introduce the maximum number of students that we could to the fun, the magic, the thrill, the joy of ham radio. 2, any student who wanted to be on the microphone, we'd put them there and we'd work as hard as we could to get them make a contact. 3, kids love competition. So we wanted to be state champs in Colorado. We were the state champs in Vermont for 17 years. Shh, we were the only school in Vermont that did this. So, state champs. But we were world champions and high school world champions 4 years. But we could pretty much assure be state champs. So we don't know how many schools in Colorado do this, but we're going to be fighting for it because kids love it. I'm trying to be a state champion. This is why we're doing this. And then the third goal of us as control operators, you want to get to the point where the students are running the operation and we as control operators are just sitting behind them and letting them go. And that's where you throw in the towel. You don't care how fast you're going. You don't care if they only made 3 contacts. They did it themselves. So that's what we're trying to get to. Okay. So it's 7:30 Monday. We have no kids. Kids come in. It takes me 15 minutes to explain what to do. We have like 3 minutes left. So students calling, CQ, CQ, CQ. This is WØBHS standing by for any call from anywhere. Nothing. CQ, CQ, CQ. This is WØBHS standing by for any call from, and we had cue cards because the less they're looking at me telling them what to do, it just slows the whole operation down. Plus, anybody we're talking to, that buddy can hear me telling you, tell them where you are. Oh, we're in Berthoud, Colorado. Tell them your name, right? The person on the other can hear all of that stuff. So you want to try to get rid of that and be as fluent as possible. We're dealing with kids that didn't even know what ham radio was. I think the first group made 4 contacts. They're gone. Our 32 minutes is up. Next. And we had things for all kinds of people to do. We had the talker, we had the logger, we had the states, schools, countries keeper tracker over, the paperwork guy down at the end, and we had the computer logger. They totally screwed that up. That's why I did it at home. But you got to train them. So part of our job next year is train these kids better to deal with the computer logging. So Monday comes, 9 groups, in, out, in, out, in, out. Get to the end of the day, we had, and I thought it was pretty good, 65 contacts. In my head, I'm thinking, what do you think is a good goal here? I figured 5 contacts for each 32 minutes would be 10 an hour. That's not bad, 1 every 6 minutes, right? 5, 6 minutes. I thought that would be pretty good. So, that first group gets 3 or 4 contacts. We're off to a fair start. So the end of the day, 65. Well, that's better than the 45 I had kind of predicted in my head. So Tuesday, and Ed was unbelievable. How many of you people actually contacted us? Okay, Kevin won. How many of you heard us? Okay. How many of you are going to listen for us next year? Yeah, okay, that's what we like to hear. So Tuesday comes, and Tuesday, we're in a little bit of a flow. What I saw was I had 1 control operator signed up every block, 1 for Monday morning, 1 for Monday afternoon, 1 for Tuesday morning. Word got out, and it got out fast. 2, 3, and 4 control operators started showing up. People who weren't, control operators who weren't even signed up for that day or that block. People started taking time off from work because this appeared to be and sounded like it was way more fun than going to work. And I had 2 people who really did. They started bagging work to just come here and be part of all this. So kids in, kids out, kids in, kids out, reading the scripts, giving them the prep. And one of the things you have to get them to understand, well, even us as old guys, is as soon as you open your mouth into the microphone, you are a representative of a number of different groups or people. So student ready to call CQ, you are a representative of you, you're a representative of this school, you're a representative of this call sign, WØBHS, you're a representative of the state of Colorado. If you're talking to a DX station, you're a representative of the United States of America and the youth of the United States of America to countries around the world. And lastly, and maybe more importantly, you're a representative of me, because I'm the chief control operator, and if you're being stupid on the radio, that's a reflection of me, and that isn't going to happen. The feedback I got from just people around here and people who I talked to the week after the contest were, you guys were amazing. You were the most professional school that I heard all week. One guy in Washington, Seattle, Washington, I talked to him about a week and a half after the contest. He makes furniture. So he's in this workshop, which is essentially a shed or a barn, and he's got a ham radio, as many people do in their workshops. He contacted us on Monday. He said we kept him entertained for the entire week. And he finally figured out that we were working in half-hour spurts, and we almost always changed frequency, right? You give up your frequency, you lose it. In Vermont, no kidding, we sat on one frequency for 5 hours. Hey, you've been on that frequency a long time. That's right, it's first come, first serve. Keep calling CQ, kids. And, right? So we couldn't do that here. Every 30 minutes we gave up the frequency and took 10 or 11 or 12 minutes off. And then you have to find a clear frequency. And it's really hard to maintain momentum. Actually, it's impossible to maintain momentum. You get a little momentum in that half-hour block, bam, it's done, it's over, finished. Then you gotta work harder to get that ball rolling again. So Tuesday was a little better day. The kids made 75 contacts, so 65 on Monday, 75 on Tuesday. So hey, not bad, we're on a roll. I don't know, we had maybe 25 states. Monday we had 27 students come in and participate. Tuesday we had 24. Wednesday was our highest day, we had 34. So we had somewhere between 24 and 34 students on any particular day. 77 different students total. They were amazing. So Wednesday comes in, we're on a little bit of a roll, right? We've been doing this for 2 days. And I was still the only one sitting in the control ops seat dealing with the kids. There were a lot of other adults there, but none of them felt comfortable enough to do that. So we're 2.5 days into it. I'd point to somebody and it's like a universal not me reaction. You point to somebody, they do 3 things. Take a step backwards or 2, hold their hands up and shake their head not me. And I'd point to various other control operators. Oh, not me. Okay, I'll do it. So somewhere around Wednesday afternoon, somebody was Dave, W0LEV, stood up and said, yeah, I've been a ham for 59 years, I'll do it. He will freely admit, because he admitted at our post, just like my students. I taught high school chemistry for 40 years. He will freely admit, and he did in our post-operation meeting, that he'd been a ham 59 years and nothing that he'd done prepared him to do this. And I had, this is a little side, I had a physical jail in my classroom, and when a student's cell phone either A, went off, or I saw them holding it, it went into the jail, we locked it up, and I put the key on top of my blackboard. It was hilarious, but it worked. It was great. So Wednesday afternoon, I got a little bit of a break in where I could go, oh man, I don't have to do this 9 times a day, right? For the kids. Dave took over, and he was burnt out in an hour. He was done. He said, I'm finished, this is too much. So somebody else stepped in. I think it was Terry, W0ASP. And then others stepped in. And it was like, it's working, and the working part is for me. My goal was to train the other 7 to do this in case I got hit by a bus and they had to do it on their own. So it's like, yeah, this is working. So we get to the end of Wednesday. I still have to go home and do 3 or 4 hours of paperwork. That's my goal next year, is to avoid going home and spending 3 or 4 more hours doing the paperwork. So my job's going to literally, I'm just going to sit in the corner and do the paperwork as it's going and let them run the show. And it doesn't matter anymore how fast or how slow it is. They can do it. I just don't want to go home and spend another 3 or 4 hours working on the paperwork. So it was like, yeah, we had 68 contacts. I think we lost our way a little bit Wednesday afternoon. We were on 40 meters all day Monday, 40 meters all day Tuesday, 40 meters Wednesday morning. In Vermont, we'd sit on 40 meters for 5 days. We're done, just 40 meters. So we said, okay, Wednesday afternoon, let's try 20. So we went from 40 to 20, marginal success, went back to 40, marginal success, went back to 20, marginal success. And that's the wrong plan. When you start jumping around, you kind of lose your way and lose the momentum. So we did a little experiment. Okay. Oh yeah, back on Tuesday, we had a great plan. The plan is at 10 o'clock, jump on, and some of you will know, get the humor in this, jump on 7240. Because we know there are 500 people listening to 7240. So at 10 o'clock, CQ, 7240, CQ, this is WHS. What a bust. In an hour, we got 4 contacts. But we did hear, and I'm not picking on guys with the name Bob, I'm just naming this guy Bob because Bob's the most common name in ham radio, right?
No, Mike.
No way. No way. It's Bob.
There's plenty of people in this room that'll contest to Mike being the most popular name.
So we did hear Bob at 10:30. You know, there's a net on this frequency at noon. Guys, it's 10:30 in the morning. We know there's a net at noon. You don't have to chase off a bunch of high school kids because it's a voice you've never heard before, and you can't talk to anybody that you don't know who they are. So that was a bust. So yeah, we had high hopes. We thought we'd get hundreds of people would just climb over here. So Wednesday comes and goes. I got more control operators, 34 kids. That was our highest number of kids. And we got 68 contacts, so a little less than Tuesday. Thursday was the money day, and boy, it started off with a bang. We're on 20 meters. Thursday morning, we hear this station, so we just get set up and we're ready to go, and we hear the station, Zulu 60 Alpha, QRZ. We go, whoa, guys, check out our country sheet. So they check the country sheet. There's no Zulu 6 anything. Whoa. We said, okay, well, let's see if we can get them. 3 calls. Well, the first 2 were duds because our operator, of course, not knowing what a pileup is, not knowing how to negotiate a pileup, jumps in too late. So we have this little conversation. You got to beat him to the punch. So you don't wait till he finishes the call. We know what his call is, Zulu 60 Alpha. Before he even finishes the Alpha, bam, get him. So 3rd call, Zulu 60 Alpha, this is W0BHS. W0BHS, this is Zulu 60 Alpha. We're going crazy. So we pass the information. We don't even know where this guy is. So he tells us he's in Kosovo. I said, kids, that's not even a country. It's the capital of a country. We don't even know what he's talking about. So we go on and we look it up on the computer, right? You, get on the computer, find out Kosovo is really a country. I didn't know that. So I get to the end of the day, I log him in and the login program goes, can't do it, Kosovo is not a country. I've been emailing the creator of the login program for years after every contest, giving him things that if he added it to the program, it would make it more functional for the way my guys do business. And he's incorporated 6 or 7 of those suggestions. So I said, how am I going to log? I logged it as Serbia. How am I going to log Zulu 60 Alpha? It's not even a country. And he goes, ooh, so he's sending back an email. He goes, yeah. He said, it's so new a country that I don't even have it in the logging program yet. So he told me how to do it, and I got it in the program. I think, actually he wrote in his email, he said right now, Kosovo is a hotter country than, is it pronounced right, Bouvet Island? Yeah. So he said, you guys got it? He said it's hotter than Bouvet Island. So that was pretty cool. We got it in the logging program. And then within a half an hour, Spain, Germany, Czech Republic, Finland, and the Netherlands. And that was it. Those were our only 6 countries for the whole week, within the span of about a half an hour. So we're cruising along, and when I asked for a show of hands, how many of you heard and listened to us, I didn't see too many show of hands. We had a young woman come in on Thursday. Her name was Audrey. You wouldn't have believed it unless you saw it. She picks up the microphone, and she, as they all do, every student picks up the microphone, and they're shaking. Their hands are shaking, their hands are shaking. So I grab her wrist to just try to stop her from shaking and to move the microphone closer to her mouth. The way we teach these kids, and I know not everybody agrees, we call it kiss the microphone. You put the microphone right up against your lips and you start talking. And that's how I operate from home. And in 32 years of operating, I swear, not a single person has ever said to me, dude, I think you have your microphone too close to your mouth. You need to move back. So we teach the kids, put it right on your lips and talk. And that's why we have the baggies. The baggies go over the microphone, so when kids spit into the microphone, we don't transfer all that stuff and germs to the next kid. Box of baggies right on top of the amplifier. Oh yeah. So what are we using? And then I'll tell you about Audrey in a minute. We're using a Yaesu FT990, an AL811H, brand new, right out of the box. I was like 3 days old when we started the contest, and a Palstar antenna tuner, and the antenna's a 4020 fan dipole. I've never seen the antenna, so I don't know what it looks like, but it's up on the roof of the school. So Audrey comes in and she's shaking, and I tell her, you gotta stop shaking and put the microphone in your mouth. So she reads through the script, bam, contact. Goes through the 5 pieces of information we need to transfer, your name, your call, where we are, what we're doing, and a signal report. The signal reports the kids are, so we had a sheet on the wall, big. 4, 9, right? Because if you tell them, what do I give them for a signal report? 4 by 9, right? The guy on the other end can hear 4 by 9, and then he says, 4 by 9. And they're so afraid to make a mistake. What happens if I tell them the wrong one? Nobody's going to come after you. Nobody's going to throw you in jail. Just make something up. Give them 2 numbers. But we do have a guide, right? We got the guide, so we'd point 3, 3, and the kid would go 4, 8. Hey, that's fine. You gave them 2 numbers. They'll write it down. Just make stuff up. So they were always afraid to make a mistake. So Audrey gets behind the radio and makes a couple of contacts and stops shaking. She made 80 contacts in 70 minutes. You wouldn't have believed it. She created such a pileup that I had to say, just tell me, there's 5 or 6 stations calling you. I said, just tell them to please stand by. You'd like to log all of them. So then she and I are having a conversation. I said, here's what's going on here. There's 5 or 6 stations calling you. It's called a pileup. It's kind of like a hog pile. And you're in charge because they're the ones that are calling you. You need to tell them what to do and they need to listen to your instructions. So here's this 17-year-old girl on the ham radio for the first time telling these 5 or 6 or whoever else is out there, gentlemen, I'd like to log all of you, but you need to listen to my instructions. The station with a 7 in the call, please call W0BHS. She was unbelievable. She didn't have to write down any calls. That's the control operator's job. Just sit over here and write down the calls and turn them around so that the kids could see them. She'd hear them, she'd remember them, and she'd just call that station right back. Manage these pilots. We just, as control operators, were literally and just watched her go. Her time was up. Whoosh. New people came in. Sit down. It's about 1:30 Thursday afternoon. Dave, W0LEV, picks up our states map. We've got the states colored in that we've contacted. Then we have a check sheet that's like a thermometer. We've got the number 27 crossed off, so we know we've reached 27 states. Our next state's number 28. You just cross off 28. So, and then we color them in on the map. And that's one of our jobs for one of the students is the states, schools, countries keeper tracker of a guy or girl. So Dave picks up the map of the United States, and Hawaii and Alaska are blank. And he goes, so this is Thursday about 1:30. Think we'll ever get any of these two? And of course, you never swear in front of your students. I made that a policy during 40 years of teaching. So I cover my mouth and say to Dave, there's no way in hell we're going to get either one of those. I can't make this stuff up. This is W0BHS standing by for any call from anywhere. W0BHS, this is W4FL stroke AM aeronautical mobile. So we go, you guys getting the gist of this? Because there are always a bunch of students around as well as control operators. This is some guy in an airplane somewhere calling us. Who's the guy? He's the pilot of a Boeing 777. I can't make this stuff up. Pilot of a Boeing 777 that just left Anchorage. He's at 35,000 feet over the Alaska Peninsula. There's Alaska. We got Alaska. Absolutely. Unbelievable. The very next call, then later in the afternoon, we got 3 more Alaska stations. It was crazy. At the end of Thursday had 129 contacts. So that was our money day, but it was all Audrey's doing. She was amazing. So we get to Friday, and Friday, cruising through the day, kids in, kids out, contacts being made. A couple of newspaper reporters show up, and you may have seen the article about a month ago in the Loveland, the Reporter Herald. I haven't been here long enough to know. The Loveland Reporter Herald, and it actually has a picture of Audrey at the microphone, and her logger guy, Kevin, was there. He was a phenomenal logger, and then he finished up the contest unbelievably on Friday. So the reporters, one for the Berthoud Surveyor, yes, Berthoud Surveyor, and that article hasn't come out yet, so that will come out sometime soon. So we gave them about a half an hour of our time. The kids are still on the air operating, the reporters are taking pictures, and we get to about 12-ish in the day, a group of 5 students came in, and we had minimally 5, I think there were 6 adults there. This group of 5 students comes in, and they just sit down at the radio station, because the adults are just sitting over here, and they just did it. They had a girl who'd never spoken into the ham radio before behind the mic. They only made 5 contacts. At that point, we didn't care. Audrey was the one directing the operation. We had a student sitting in the control operator chair, taking down the call signs. He'd been doing it all week. He was really fluent in that. We had a logger, and we had a student helping the logger. 5 students, and there's 6 adults standing here in the back of the room, just watching these kids go. And it wouldn't have mattered if they only made 1 contact. They did it. On their own. They chose the frequency. They recognized the fact that just because you don't hear somebody doesn't mean nobody's there. They asked is this frequency in use? You always ask twice, is this frequency in use? And they decided they didn't hear anything. They pushed the lock button on the FT990 and they claimed it. And they claimed it by calling CQ. And what we always taught them is, if you're not talking, nobody's hearing you and nobody knows you exist. So you call CQ, you give 1, 2, you call CQ again. You don't wait around 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 5 seconds. Bam, you just go get them. Make them find you. So that's the strategy that I always used in Vermont and we used here this year. Make them find you. So we get to the end of the day, and it was unbelievable. So they left. Another pair came in. They were a group. We didn't have anybody, or students didn't show up. 2 kids came in. They had like 11 minutes. Both of them tried making a contact. Neither one did, so that was kind of a bummer. And then the last group came in, and the last group was Audrey's logger, whose picture is in the Reporter Herald. He learned something during this week. He made 36 contacts in 40 minutes. Just ripped them off. He didn't have to have anybody tell him call signs. He just went. It was amazing. So 3 o'clock Friday comes. That's it. You just get up and you go home. And to be honest, what a letdown. I mean, you're going full speed for 5 days. And then in my case, 3 or 4 more hours at home doing paperwork. Anybody want that job? No, I didn't think so. So what a letdown after that. I mean, it's an intense week. So we get Sunday, we have our meeting. Oh yeah, check this out. How do we do with our goals? Did we have the maximum number of students be introduced to ham radio as we possibly could? The answer, I think, is yes. Did we give every student the opportunity who wanted to talk the chance to make a contact? Yes. Did we get students to be able to operate this station without any adult interference? Yes. Were we state champions in the state of Colorado? Yeah! Were we the only school in the state of Colorado? Yes! But we are Colorado state champions for the first time participating in this contest. So I checked QRZ lookups for W0BHS. Sunday, before we started on Monday, there were 70. Shows you they're not very active. I have 38,000. Then I checked on Saturday after the contest, 1,120. We had like 1,100 lookups in 5 days because we were on the air, people heard us, and they were checking us out. Nobody's going to hear us if you're not talking. Just keep calling CQ and somebody will hear you. Right? It's just like fishing. Bummer. Right? Eventually you're going to pull out a fish. It's the same kind, and the kids get the concept. So we get our meeting, and I go around. This is the Sunday after the contest ends, and I go around. We all give a highlight, and I don't think Dave, W0LEV, will mind me sharing this. This is the power that A, teaching, B, education has, and I don't know, teaching high school chemistry for 40 years. C, in this case, we were using ham radio as the teaching tool. The vehicle was the School Club Roundup. The teaching tool was ham radio. So we get around to our highlights, and Dave, W0LEV, is next to last. He choked up and couldn't speak and had to wipe a tear out of both of his eyes before he could speak about the impact that one student struggling to make a contact, who actually ended up making 6, had on him. It's You can't even predict this stuff. And that's what's so magical about ham radio. Every time I call CQ, it's like opening up a present at Christmas. It could be a lump of coal because nobody's there, or it could be the most amazing contacting Scott Kent, who happens to work at Berthoud High School, who happens to bemoan the fact that he wants to have ideas to get kids interested in ham radio, and he's talking to the guy who just happens to have an idea called the School Club Roundup. You gotta do it. And he whipped it all together and did it. So just some of the ancillary things. We came in first in the state. We were the third high school in the world. Not that every school in the world does this, but Berthoud High School came in third in the world of the high schools that did this. My station in Vermont, you'll never hear from them again. When the guy that controls leaves or retires or just goes to another school, it dies with you. And there's some things in life that just happens to. It was a fun 17 years. They're done. I left. There's nobody to carry on the torch, and there's no real somebody in the pipeline or in the works to do that. It's just kind of chance. You hire somebody who's a ham radio operator. And they came in 10th in the world. So all schools, all divisions, colleges, elementary schools, 10th in the world. I do have to tell you a couple of other things that the teachers and staff, you know who the cool kids were that week? The ham radio kids. The teachers and the staff were coming up to us adults going, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're hearing about this from the kids. It sounds amazing. Teachers were starting to come in on their free periods and just poke their head around to see what we were doing. Just the power of being able to speak. And there was no Morse code. Kids don't understand Morse code. There were no digital modes. They spend all day staring at a screen anyway. Give them something that's so different than what they ordinarily do. What, I have to talk to people? Yeah, you actually have to talk to people. Now there's a novel idea. And the kids excel, absolutely excel. So first in the state, third in the world for high schools, and 10th in the country for all schools. I asked my control operators, did you do what we asked the kids to do? And that was, just give us an hour of your time, see if you like it, if it's fun enough, you want to do this again. Do you want to do this next year? Hell yeah, everybody raised their hands and says, yeah, we think we want to do this next year. So we've got a good group of 8 control operators who will do this next year. On college applications, this is no joke. I had 3 students, bless you, who were the only 3 students in the world who could write on their college applications they were a captain of a world championship ham radio contest team. 3 kids in the world, and I had them. The kids who are juniors now can write on their college applications. They were a member of a state championship team, because they legitimately are, and they were a member of a contest team that came in 3rd in the world in the high school division. And you can put that on your college application. Captains, I'm hoping that Scott will do what I did, and that's I always took the 3 students who had the most contacts who didn't graduate. They were automatically next year's captains. We've got 3 students who had the most contacts, 66, 32, and 26. I hope he does the same, makes them the captains. Because now one of their jobs is go out and recruit their friends. Dude, you gotta do this. All we're asking is an hour. Yeah, I think I can give up an hour of my time. And we've got 60 left, that if all 60 of those come back with a friend, it's 120 kids. I don't know what we're gonna do with 120 kids. That's a lot of kids. So I don't know what's gonna happen next year. But the kids were fired up. We were fired up as adults. I'd like to make you an offer, then I'll take any questions. If you have any, you've been an attentive audience, and I appreciate that. My offer is I came from Vermont. I'm a free agent. If you know somebody who works in a school, this can't be done unless you know somebody in the school. You gotta have an inside person who has access to the students. You just can't take a bunch of hams, and that means me as well, stand in front of a student body and go, guys, this is great. You gotta check this out. It's amazing. You're gonna talk to stations all over the country and all the, But if you have somebody in the school who can communicate with the kids knows the kids, and round them up. Boy, that's a big step. And my offer to any of you, if any of you are interested in maybe getting this going, there's 2 high schools in this town that I know of. There must be a bunch in Fort Collins and Longmont, every place else. I'm more than open to sit down with you either as an individual or as a group and just explain to you what is necessary to get an operation like this up and running. I'll even help you get it set up and get up and running. I'll give you the folder with all the paper. I've got 17 years worth of, this is what you need to know and how to do this. I'll just give you the folder, put it on a stick. What I won't do, because my allegiance is now to Berthoud High School, is I'll spend every minute of every hour of every day at Berthoud High School. But I'll be more than glad to help you guys get set up. A little friendly competition is always good. So, I'm not hard to find. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I just got a statement. Did you ask those 3 students to get their hand license? I could sure use them in field day. Somebody's got to read the bloviator, okay?
This is going to sound like sacrilege. This operation is not about studying and study guides and tests and licensing. It's about, and I know it sounds like sacrilege, there are a lot of good people that deal with that aspect of it. We're just trying to say, kids, this is something you don't even know exists, and it's funner than you ever imagined. Funner, more fun than you ever imagined. Give it a try, and we let it go from there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let us make the offer. We are very successful in teaching M classes through this club. And we have 7 classes a year held over at the REA building, which is almost Loveland, right? Send them over. We'll teach them.
Make the offer.
Okay, right, we can certainly do that.
I'm serious. I could use them in field day. Someone's got to beat the bloviator, okay? He knows I'm talking about.
He's just ignoring.
Yeah.
He's all pro at ignoring him, trust me.
Well, you guys must have heard Ed Schiller. He checked the frequency that we're on, go running out into the hallway, and I don't know what he was doing because I wasn't in the hallway, but I'm sure he was going, okay, you guys, they're on 14.277 or whatever we were on, and then he'd come running back in. Was that going on?
No, not at all.
So if you see or hear any one of those people that I mentioned, that's the horse's mouth. They were there, they earned the right and the privilege to speak on behalf of the students, the operation, all the control operators, WØBHS, by virtue of the number of hours that they put in or their duties while they were there. It was an amazing experience.
Very cool.
Thank you.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. For more information, visit our website, ncarc.net. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.